Okay, so we were given 3 links. The first one was called The Fallacy of Twitter Marketing Rules. And it starts off by saying that it's created 5 different categories for social media marketing. Brand maintenance, which is listening and responding. Community management, which is participating in and nurturing communities. Influencer outreach, which is targeting and engaging with relevant influencers. Reputation management, which is thought leadership and reputation work, obviously. And the 5th one is what they call Big Splash, which is the large creative social media campaigns like Pepsi Refresh or the Old Spice Guide campaigns. It talks about maintaining your brand on Twitter. Basically, in order to do this, as far as a company on Twitter goes, it's to respond to your customers and letting them know that you see their tweets, letting them know that you're listening to them. Discusses reputation management. This can be in the form of offense or defense, but either way it's important because giving your brand a good reputation will affect how many people will support your brand and follow it. And the Big Splash, these are the campaigns that spread like wildfire. And these usually aren't associated with Twitter. Twitter usually keeps the story flowing from medium to medium, but the article says that they're usually going to be big on Facebook and YouTube. But it's always important to consider what advice or tips would go well with your specific approach, because not every campaign will have the same approach. And a good way to do this is to go back and ask yourself, what are you trying to achieve? The second link was about how to set measurable goals for your social media marketing. It starts off by talking about Twitter. It talks about Twitter, Facebook, and Google+. But it starts off with Twitter, and it says some of the things to look at in order to see if you're on track and being successful is, the first thing in all cases is to look at your competitors and how they're performing. But for Twitter, you can look at follower growth, the change in people following your company over time, and the more you reach, the more you can drive people to your site. Frequency, you can look at frequency, which is keeping track of how often you're tweeting, and then you can compare that to your follower growth and see if there's any correlation. Are you tweeting too much? And that annoys people, so your follower growth goes down. Are you not tweeting often enough? That way people don't see your tweets as often, so your follower growth isn't that big, things like that. And then it says you can follow engagement. If followers aren't engaging, then you aren't making an impression on them. So how do you measure engagement? Things like replies, mentions, retweets. And with this, you could include the retweetable words. You can ask people to retweet. You can tweet interesting links, etc. But don't make your tweets too long because that's annoying. Then it talks about tweet engagement, tracking your tweet engagement rate. Keeping track of how many retweets and favorites that a tweet gets per 1,000 followers. That's what that is. You can focus on content type. Keeping track of the content type and the retweets and favorites of each tweet can tell you if there's a favorite type of content that your followers are enjoying, and this can help you keep them interested. And lastly, you can use brand mentions. You can set up a Twitter list that tracks your brand's name in order to see if your brand is trending or if it's buzzing, and then let people know that you are listening to their comments. That's really important. Then it goes into Facebook. Facebook sounds like it could be a little bit better than Twitter as far as this goes because it offers, better than Twitter, because it offers brand pages, analytics. And some of the things that you can look at are the page like growth, just like Twitter, more followers equals more reach. And reach is simply the number of people who saw your post. And this is especially important if you're talking about paid advertising. You want to know if you're getting your money's worth. Again, looking at engagement for Facebook, if you want your company updates to show up on your followers' feed, then they have to be liking it and commenting on it and sharing it. So engagement is necessary. Sharing is probably the most important one because that means you're increasing your reach at the same time. Things that help engagement apparently are emoticons, a post that includes a question, a post that includes a photo, and posts that ask followers to like it or share it or comment on it. Then lastly, it's going to talk about Google+. Google+ apparently is not good at letting you track statistics and KPIs. For Google+, you can look at follower growth. Again, it's important for any brand on any social media tool. You can look at plus name mentions, and this is tracking these tells you who is talking about your brand and what they're saying, which you can find in your Google+ dashboard apparently, but it won't tell you the actual number of mentions in a time period, which is a bummer because you have to actually go and count them. That's pretty lame. You can keep track of the +1s and your comments and your shares. Again, showing you what kind of content your followers are interested in. And you could also look at post engagement rate, which gives you the total number of +1s and comments and shares of a certain time period. And looking at that maybe in a graph form and looking at any changes over time in the numbers of +1s, comments, or shares can tell you or will show you whether your efforts are effective or not. Then the article gives 2 goals when using social media. Humanize your brand, which pretty much speaks for itself. And the second was fill the top of the funnel. Basically, use the metrics and the data to determine your strengths and your weaknesses, and then focus your efforts on what really has worked for you in the past to expand your reach. That's pretty much it for the second link. And then the third link gives you 5 ways to use hashtags in social media marketing. First of all, the article talks a little bit about the history of hashtags and how they first came about and what hashtags are. I don't think I really need to go into that. I think by now we should all know what a hashtag is, but it goes into how to use those hashtags as a marketing tool, and it lists 5 ways that you can use them in your social media marketing. First, you can use them to drive engagement, and tweets with a link and a hashtag have shown even more engagement. Second, you can use them to test your messages. It gives the example of the State of the Union campaign that they did, and they tested the content using the popular hashtags, and that allowed them to better tailor their message for the State of the Union address because they knew what the audience was concerned about or what they were interested in. You can use hashtags to tie activity across multiple channels. Brands can use hashtags as one general connection that crosses many different social media channels, which is really cool and extremely helpful for the brand. The fourth way is that they allow you to create a story. It gives an example from Esurance. It did a hashtag on one of their commercials right after the Super Bowl, and they created a story around this hashtag, and right after the commercial aired, it received 1.4 million mentions in only like an hour, which gives Esurance not only a lot of attention, but it lets them know exactly who is actually engaging with their story and their brand, giving them a more targeted audience, which is cool. And then finally, you can use hashtags to track your results. But in the end, basically hashtags, shares, followers, likes, and any of the other measurable engagement activities can aid in evaluating your marketing plans. And that's pretty much it.